In British pop history, few groups have had a story as dramatic as Take That. They were not just another successful boy band. They became a cultural phenomenon, disappeared at the height of their fame, returned years later against all expectations, and then managed to become even bigger in a completely different era of music. Formed in Manchester in 1990, Take That began with 5 members: Gary Barlow, Howard Donald, Mark Owen, Jason Orange, and Robbie Williams. Over time, the group would change shape, losing members and gaining new phases of identity, but its place in UK music remained unusually strong. Their story is about chart success, reinvention, friendship, tension, and a rare second act that many pop groups never achieve. Take That arrived at a moment when British pop was ready for a new kind of group. The original lineup had a clear internal structure. Gary Barlow was the lead singer and primary songwriter, giving the band a musical center. Mark Owen and Robbie Williams initially helped provide backing vocals and personality, while Howard Donald and Jason Orange were known especially for dance and performance. This balance mattered. Take That were designed not only to release catchy pop records, but also to command attention visually. In the early 1990s, pop success was increasingly tied to music videos, television appearances, and live performance energy. Take That understood that better than most. The group's rise was powered by a remarkable run on the UK charts. Across their career, Take That achieved 28 top 40 singles, with 20 reaching the top 10 and 17 entering the top 5. 12 of those singles reached number 1 in the UK. That level of consistency is what separates a popular act from a defining one. Their albums were just as successful, with 9 number 1 albums on the UK albums chart. These numbers show that Take That were not built around 1 or 2 lucky hits. They repeatedly found ways to connect with listeners, whether through upbeat pop, emotional ballads, or large-scale anthems that felt built for arenas. Gary Barlow's songwriting was central to that success. In many boy bands, songs are created almost entirely by outside teams, but Take That had a member who could write the group's musical identity from within. That helped make their hits feel more personal and more consistent. Barlow's role as lead singer and primary songwriter gave the band a recognizable emotional voice. At the same time, the other members gave Take That their wider appeal. Mark Owen brought charm and vulnerability, Robbie Williams added confidence and unpredictability, while Howard Donald and Jason Orange helped define the group's movement-heavy stage presence. Together, they became more than a studio project, they became a full pop experience. But behind the polished image, the pressures of fame were growing. Take That were intensely visible, especially to young fans, and their success demanded constant touring, promotion, and public attention. In 1995, Robbie Williams left the band. His departure became one of the most talked-about moments in 1990s British pop. Williams had been a key personality within the group, and his exit changed the dynamic instantly. The remaining 4 members continued, completing their world tour and releasing a final single. But the momentum had shifted. In 1996, Take That split up, ending what had been one of the most dominant pop runs of the decade. The breakup had a huge emotional impact on fans. Take That were not simply a band people listened to casually. For many fans, they had defined an entire teenage or young adult period. The mid-1990s split showed the intensity of pop fandom before social media. News spread through television, radio, newspapers, magazines, and word of mouth, and the reaction was unusually strong. At that point, most people assumed the story was over. Robbie Williams went on to build a massive solo career, and the idea of Take That returning seemed unlikely. In pop, especially boy band pop, reunions often come too late or feel like nostalgia. Take That would eventually prove that assumption wrong. The turning point came nearly a decade later. In 2005, a documentary about the group brought the Take That story back into public conversation. Alongside a new greatest hits album, it reminded audiences how many songs had remained part of British pop memory. Then, in 2006, a 4-piece version of Take That, without Robbie Williams, officially announced a UK reunion tour called the Ultimate Tour. This was a major risk. Reunion tours can expose how much time has passed, especially if audiences only want a brief nostalgic moment. But the response showed that Take That still had a loyal audience, and perhaps more importantly, that there was room for a new chapter. What made the reunion extraordinary was that it did not stop at old songs. On May 9, 2006, it was announced that the group would record new material together. Their fourth studio album, Beautiful World, was released that year, marking the first major creative step of their comeback. This was where Take That separated themselves from many reunited acts. Instead of relying only on past hits, they updated their sound and image for an older audience. The songs felt more mature, the performances less like teenage pop spectacle and more like adult contemporary anthems. Beautiful World proved that Take That could function as a current band, not just a memory. The comeback continued with The Circus in 2008, and Take That's second era became a major success across the UK and Europe. As a four-piece, they sold millions of records and rebuilt their reputation on a larger, more mature scale. This period also showed how unusual their career had become. Most pop groups peak early and then struggle to escape the image that made them famous. Take That did the opposite, they turned age and history into strengths. The audience that had grown up with them returned, but the music also reached new listeners. By this point, Take That were no longer simply a boy band from the 1990s, they had become a long-running British pop institution. In 2010, the story took another major turn when Robbie Williams rejoined Take That for the album Progress. Released on November 15, 2010, it was the first album of new material featuring the original lineup since Nobody Else in 1995. The anticipation was enormous because it reunited the full five-member version of the group that fans had never expected to see again. Progress became the fastest-selling album of the 21st century and the second fastest-selling album in British history. That achievement showed the power of both nostalgia and renewal. People were not only curious about a reunion, they were actively buying into a new creative moment. Take That's live success became just as important as their recorded music. In 2011, Progress Live set a new record for the fastest-selling tour of all time in the UK, beating the band's own previous record from Circus Live in 2009. This tells us something crucial about their appeal. Their concerts had become large-scale events, designed to feel spectacular rather than routine. The group also received major industry recognition. At the 2011 Brit Awards, they won Best British Group, and across their career they received 8 Brit Awards, including Best British Group and Best British Live Act. Their comeback was no longer a sentimental footnote, it was one of the biggest British pop stories of the era. After the five-member reunion, Take That continued to evolve again. In 2014, the band recorded their seventh studio album as a trio, Gary Barlow, Howard Donald, and Mark Owen, without Robbie Williams and Jason Orange. The album, titled 3, was released in November 2014 and became the band's seventh #1 album. Its lead single, These Days, became their 12th #1 single in the UK. This mattered because it proved the Take That name could survive another transformation. The band had now worked as a five-piece, a four-piece, and a trio, while still maintaining enough identity for audiences to follow them through each version. Take That's wider legacy is reflected in both numbers and cultural moments. Internationally, they have been credited with 56 #1 singles and 42 #1 albums. In the UK, the British phonographic industry has certified them for sales of 14.4 million albums and 14.6 million singles. In 2012, they received an Ivor Novello Award for Outstanding Contribution to British Music, and Forbes named them the 5th highest-earning music stars in the world. That same year, they performed Rule the World at the London 2012 Olympic Games closing ceremony as the Olympic flame was extinguished. It was a symbolic moment. A Manchester pop group that began in 1990 had become part of a national broadcast watched around the world. The story of Take That is ultimately a story of survival in a genre not known for longevity. Boy bands are often treated as temporary, built for a moment and then replaced by the next wave. Take That broke that pattern. They dominated the 1990s, fell apart, returned without their most famous member, became successful again, reunited the original lineup, set touring records, and then continued as a trio. Their success came from strong songwriting, adaptable branding, and a deep emotional connection with fans. By placing 15th among the biggest-selling singles artists in British chart history, they became the most successful boy band in UK chart history. More than 3 decades after forming, Take That remain one of British pop's most remarkable reinvention stories. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.